Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring today's video. Tension builds right through the double-speed logos to cut down runtime and appease the logo haters with these crazy fast choral bongos before we even know what's going on.
Force her into hiding.
Solid recap on Mission Impossible 3 in the form of dream wedding vows and at least a reminder of Rogue Nation's baddie.
You should have killed me, Ethan.
This film's thesis is established in a minute and a half, questioning Spock's iconic logical conclusion. Do the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one? And Lauren Balfe's piece of music, Love's Reduced, sets the emotional stakes right on Ethan's shoulders immediately. Every time it comes back up, it reminds you of how guilty Ethan feels. Also, that's Sarah Connor level brutal. Look, I'll jump out of a plane, hang on a train, even step out through a window pane. Just please don't prick my finger. I read it. It's essentially Ozymandias meets Hendrix from Ghost Protocol, with a crap ton of all religion is bad and you should feel bad. But that last part does separate it from the pack. I love that Mission Impossible movies get a pass on exposition dumps because it's part of being an IMF agent, like a video game opening.
Good luck, Ethan. This message will self-destruct.
Ooh, and the Mission Impossible theme starts panicking on the strings in the background as the familiar section of the tape begins.
Is it possible to be relaxed and extremely uneasy at the same time?
No, it's not.
You do it all the time.
No, I don't.
You have to love that Benji wanted field work so bad, so Luther and Ethan feel like they can bust his chops.
And tonight, Luther,
I would like to be in the van.
I just have a bad feeling is all.
No feelings were harmed in the making of this scene.
His voice is never wrong. And whenever I meet you, it tells me the same thing.
What's that?
Nothing.
I think that might be the best description of why Ethan is so good at what he does. Also, why he should enter the World Series of Poker.
Give us the plutonium, and we won't kill your friend.
Knowing that this is the Apostles and they're like Solomon Lane Syndicate true believers means they would definitely know this is how to beat Ethan, since it was exactly what Lane did to him in Rogue Nation.
Where's the plutonium?
I love this misdirection. It becomes clear to seasoned Mission Impossible fans as the scene progresses what's really going on. But cutting right from the plutonium being stolen to the news of the bombs going off is such a great narrative device to land the stakes of Ethan's choices, even if they're fake. No bombs have gone off, but that look on Ethan's face is real because he really did fail.
Maybe we need to reconsider that.
Seems like a cliche good cop, bad cop sketch, but when you consider that 3 nukes just supposedly went off, Delbrook and the audience would both buy it.
Go.
Ethan could have let him think he'd won, but no, he's gonna go full theatrics mode and blow this guy's mind and crush his spirit. Hey, and Benji finally got to wear a mask. Nuclear irradiated title card. And even the title theme takes 3 steps down rather than resolving up on a more positive note like normal. So Joe Kramer didn't return to compose Fallout's score, instead we got Megamind's Lauren Balfe. Interestingly, he takes pieces of Kramer's score from Rogue Nation and, dare I say, improves them? He uses that same progression, which is actually just a slowed down version of the second phrase in the main theme, almost like an undertone for everything building up in this movie.
Some flaw won't allow you to choose between one life and millions.
As a bit of a soft-hearted guy, that little compliment from Hundley gets me. There are a million reasons to love Ethan Hunt, but one of the main reasons we connect with him is explained in this scene right here. And while each movie has its own tone, that thread is carried through.
Agent Walker, special activities. You use a scalpel. I prefer a hammer.
He does have a hammerish look to him, doesn't he? Also, special activities equals killing people for my government. Also, the standoff between the head brass paper pushers with their leashed animals over their shoulders.
People actually fall for this.
No, never, Lark Walker. Definitely don't ever worry about it.
If you'd made the hard choice in Berlin, I wouldn't be here.
If you hadn't gunned down every syndicate agent they sent you to find, I wouldn't be here.
Scalpel, meet hammer. Fun fact about these silly little Hollywood prop masks, they're real. And also necessary since, as we're about to get into, Tom Cruise really did that halo jump and you need oxygen at this altitude. So they invented an aesthetically pleasing but also functional mask for this jump.
Or the last thing that goes through your mind will be your kneecaps.
And it's funny that Tom can actually give this speech believably, not just because he's an amazing actor, but also because he's speaking from experience, having done hundreds recently. It's probably in the back of your mind the first time you see this. Is this... Did he really just jump out of a plane? That felt like one long take and it seems very real. And then you probably went home and looked it up and realized, yes, Tom Cruise did an actual high altitude, low open jump usually reserved for paratroopers. My boilerplate win of file that under unnecessary risks taken by Tom Cruise due to his unimpeded devotion to realism is going to lose all meaning in this video. But still do file it there. Real altitude, real jump, real death below. And how gorgeous is this scene? They had this tiny little window every day to get these shots, and holy crap, was shooting in IMAX worth it. Dang it, that little practical flip so that Walker is facing the right direction and Ethan is under him, out of the way when he pulls his chute for him, that also acts as a reveal of how close the ground is. Filmmaking perfection.
Looks like you lost your oxygen.
Not even worth it, face. Tom Cruise is always a win. Ethan with the little needle, scalpel, and Walker with the metal 3D printer that he breaks on Lark's face, hammer.
Where's the needle?
And this is just a great example of McQuarrie's writing acumen. He answers every question before you can ask it. Why not stick him after he's unconscious? Ethan couldn't find it, and then the second he starts looking, guys come into the bathroom. Traitor! Lian Yang usually does stunts and coordinates stunts, so getting to see him on screen holding his own with two best of the best spies is super satisfying. This fight is so awesome and brutal. Actually, he's not holding his own. He's kicking the snot out of them. I mean, it takes a bullet to stop him. Tom's face in that little hand gesture. Dude, I think we're having a misunderstanding here. I just was gonna give you some feel-good drugs. And then also the classic, all right, I guess I gotta smash you through the wall face. Oh, come on. Walker cocking his arms as if to say, okay, no more Mr. Nice Soups. And then he lays into Lark like a boxer. Pay attention, up-and-coming filmmakers. Textbook Chekhov's gun. Gun falls out, guy grabs gun, different gun goes off. Haha, tricked you. Chekhov's subversion. Also, Ilsa to the rescue.
Max was something of a paradox.
This almost makes up for the fog from Ghost Protocol. Not quite, but almost. Also, Vanessa Redgrave, Vanessa Kirby, it's a thing.
She had a fascination for paradoxes.
And we finally answered this question.
Whether you like a paradox.
Don't turn this into a scene.
It's probably just a regional dialect thing, but Vanessa Kirby has that very posh, sharp enunciation that Max did. So it's great imitation or great casting. Either worked. I love how Ethan's first impulse is always to keep it quiet. Just set the guy back down in the chair. But as things get increasingly more intense, there's only so much you can do. Eek, teamwork? Oh, okay, that's brutal. Hey, the gang's all here. A league of people dealing out justice. All right, I need one of you soundtrack aficionados to help me identify what this little twinkly piano line reminds me of. Could just be spy movies. My first feeling was Tinker Tailor or Sneakers, which both have twinkly pianos playing dissonant notes, but neither is as close as I thought. My buddy Corey from 12 Tone, a channel you should check out if you're into music, mentioned that it's full of octave leaps that could lend themselves to a more mysterious vibe. This is probably my favorite scene in the film. It's one of the most breathtaking scenes from any Mission Impossible movie, and it actually improves on the No Russian mission we were all immediately brought back to. The silence is transcendent, the score is elegant and mournful. You almost feel the weight on Ethan's chest. And then poof, it's actually another example of Ethan's vivid imagination. And fun fact, Tom and McQuarrie didn't want the French citizens to watch this scene being filmed with, cops being killed, so they threw up a silk sheet to block the view, which had the added effect of this diffused light giving the scene that dreamy feeling. And it plays right into our theme. Just like Cap says, we don't trade lives.
And when that cause turned out to be a lie, they turned against their masters.
Have to appreciate the way Lark is basically telling Sloane exactly why he turned. Pretty easy to come up with and understand the motivations of a traitor terrorist when it's you. This movie moves fast. There's a good chance a lot of the audience didn't catch this. Did you? The musical cue at least should alert you to something being off. But if you remember, the phone was no bueno. Ethan couldn't even turn it on. So this is technically the reveal that Walker is at least not who he says he is. It's been a minute since I sang this score's praises. It's slowly becoming one of my favorites. There's some deep Hans Zimmer rumbling mixed with percussion that's just a little too fast for comfort. Not to mention the reincorporated OG theme every once in a while.
Is it true Lane gassed a village of 2,000 people?
What can be interpreted as Walker trying to understand the savagery of Lane is actually more likely him reveling in atrocity.
You're the guy that caught him, aren't you? How long do you think he's gonna keep that to himself?
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Life advice. Oh, that's one of the most fun shots in the film. It wasn't necessary. We would have gotten the idea, but locking off the camera to keep Lane upright. So good. And for some reason I felt the need to do this so I could see what it would look like when the camera was level with the ground. And talk about using your surroundings. You can call these little close-ups vain. Personally, I see it as a reminder that we're watching it actually happening. $100 million face Tom Cruise is riding a motorcycle through Paris without a helmet at relatively high speeds. And stunt drivers or not, Tom Cruise does look good on a motorcycle. And I don't know, I think we can file that under unnecessary risks taken by Tom Cruise due to his unimpeded devotion to realism. Real motorcycle, real cars, real Arc de Triomphe. Somehow even that was real. Oh, what a dumb move. Oh, that's why he took his knife out. You're just constantly rewarded for paying attention. You've got to love this very familiar closing to a set piece being upended. Yeah, Tom tricks everyone. He had it planned out, and his plan obviously involved no deaths and a casual stroll out of the action with nary a scratch. Oh, there's a cop. And she has doe eyes and a French accent, so he's screwed. That little, don't worry, it's his bachelor party smile. And here we get such an admittedly weird throwaway, oh gosh, Ethan's got a white knighted up scene. But it's actually the entire theme of the film on display and something that solidifies Walker's assurance that he can control Ethan. Ethan has to choose between the mission, also 4 goons' lives, and one innocent wrong place, wrong time woman. If you've been paying attention, the choice has already been made. And just for good measure, we get Ethan drawing on and killing 4 dudes before they even get a shot off. Oh, Ethan, still got that anti-stormtrooper aim.
The name's Walker, by the way.
Was the little car your idea?
No one cares.
The name's Walker.
Yeah?
Was the little car your idea?
And that look from Tom makes me think Simon ad-libbed that. You know how I know it's Ilsa? The leg monopod. It really does sound superfluous when you just say it out loud. Oh yeah, Tom does his own driving. No, these shots, knowing he's really in there, whipping that car around, that's why he does it. And seriously, this chase is French Connection, Born Identity, Bullet, it's everything you want. Raw, dirty, real. Ugh, just the way she leaves the camera in the dust. And Tom did that maneuver. That's just pleasing to the eyes, ears, and brain. Cinematic ASMR. Ha! You can actually see Luther pick up the second tracker. That's Ilsa watching them. Hair wipe. Goodness loves reduced to something else. It put you on edge in the No Russian Vision, and now it gets to the heart of Ethan and Ila's relationship rather than make us feel any danger.
You okay?
Ethan and Ilsa. Nah, I'm gonna leave it.
Who's making you do this? MI6.
These two facing off, not enemies, not friends, combatants once, allies later on. There's so much being said between them with few words. Ilsa essentially telepathizes her situation to Ethan without really saying anything.
Why do I have to be late? Benji.
Luther, you can be whoever you want to be.
Accept it, Ethan. You've lost this one. What's done is done.
Hi, have we met? I'm Ethan Hunt, and I'm not super keen on losing.
You must be new.
You want the plutonium? We're the only ones who can get it for you. You in or out?
In.
That works as both Walker and Lark. Both of them want plutonium. Lark thought this through.
Got a bad feeling about this one.
Don't worry, Benji. Still no feelings harmed in the making of this scene. In-camera switcheroo. It's one of those things filmmakers can now just say, handle that in post, would ya? But instead, they don't cut, they just use a good old-fashioned split screen with 2 shots from a pre-programmed camera movement. I love that Benji's response is to be freaked right out at first. He can't be faking the sedative, otherwise the adrenaline or whatever it is would be too much for him.
Call the apostles. Warn them.
I have no way of contacting them.
So that was what solidified it for me, but I give McQuarrie credit for having Benji say something Lane probably wouldn't say.
Nothing but grown men wearing.
Also, it's a good thing that the CIA spy actually figures it out before it's revealed to him like he's some moron. Hey, and Benji got a second mask mission.
I'm beginning to see why you guys enjoy this so much.
Yeah, it honestly just doesn't get old.
The only real threats are in this room, and we have them.
Do you?
Go.
Now that's an unexpected twist. Walker using Hunt's line from the opening. See, now there's a reversal of that Chekhov's gun subversion from the bathroom. This time it's played straight and stings because you know it's coming. Savin, your sort of love interest, or maybe he's a colleague, I don't know.
A big fallout.
What do you mean, by who?
How do I know? CIA apostles would...
MI6, those random Europeans trying to kill Lark, the Widow's brothers goons, Uncle, Spectre, RAS, SHIELD, ISIS, but not that one, Archer's agency. Oh, we've gone off the rails. We've seen animated action the last couple weeks, but this live human action is a thing to behold. And let's just throw some wins up there for a freaking broken ankle take finish. Obviously, they need an excuse to spend some time filming Tom Cruise running because, well, we'll get to that. But I've got to hand it to them on this one. Having him up on rooftops, running through buildings, it makes this sequence we've seen a million times, half of which are done by Tom himself, a lot more fun and interesting. Sometimes you forget there are normal people in Mission Impossible movies. Also, let's be honest, Tom Cruise sprints like a champ. There is something weirdly satisfying about Ethan giving it everything he's got for a full 5 minutes, just to inadvertently put himself in a completely vulnerable position.
Know when you're beat.
You must be new.
This track! Notes of Kramer's Rogue Nation score for finally capturing Lane in the glass box, but it's almost elevated as if Lane and Walker are playing it back at Ethan like a taunt.
And she would wonder who's watching the world while Ethan is watching me.
It's tolerable reasoning for them to be apart, meaning I'm not left depressed, but the real win here is Ving getting meaty dialogue explaining what's going on with Ethan when clearly Ethan wouldn't or probably can't. So, you have to be a spy to pull off the black turtleneck? I think I want to try it. I want to look like Ethan Hunt, or yeah, Archer. Well, now I have to find a third reference to Archer.
Ethan?
Julia?
Well, now that's a twist. There's a part of us that forgets Julia actually exists outside the dream world, since that's the only way we've seen her in this movie.
Rob's on vacation.
No. I'm I'm working.
Oh, that little hopeful statement question. They may be divorced, but they still understand each other.
Thanks to our guardian angel.
Guardian?
He says he's ready to underwrite the entire operation. Can you believe that?
I certainly can.
Yeesh, that's not like security or a failsafe. That's putting his ex-wife next to the nuclear bomb he plans to blow up. It's cold, Lane. And that look on Ilsa's face. Pain for Ethan knowing he has to pretend to be happy for the love of his life and her new husband while also dealing with the knowledge that even staying away from her, she'll always be in danger even from her guardian angel.
You two can catch up in the car. See you soon.
And you just can't hate Seneca Crane. He's just so nice. Ethan Hunt plus danger plus suspended precariously from rope equals win. Ha! Lane doesn't even care. Ethan's hunting. Can file that under unnecessary risks taken by Tom Cruise due to his unimpeded devotion to realism. Real chopper, real fall, real spine. I know the whole Ethan on a wire thing is a joke by now, but come on, look at this shot. These long takes where you can feel Ethan's very human struggle. Who doesn't want to be Ethan Hunt? With none of the risks or consequences, obviously. I don't know. Kind of cheated by combining two things in one here, but I'll give it to him. Ethan Hunt plus hanging on exterior of high-speed moving vehicle equals win. The actual irony of Tom Cruise spending thousands of hours learning to fly a helicopter, because of course he did, just to pretend like Ethan Hunt has to fumble around trying to figure out how to fly a helicopter. It's something else.
How do I get rid of this payload?
Boom, phrasing, done and done. Ah, almost like the payload toggle being on the joystick reminded him that he's Maverick and he needs to take down the MiG.
That's your left hand. Sorry, the other wire.
Just checking.
Oh, I like her.
She's, interestingly enough, not new. And you thought the prettiest thing to come out of New Zealand was Lord of the Rings.
Hold this for me, will you?
That's what you get for that one-liner, Ethan. Little more expectations of version with that miss. Man, this movie could just be a bunch of different reaction facial expressions and would be almost as good.
If we're looking here, it's because he wants us to.
Makes sense that his right-hand woman of 2 years would know that.
I don't know what's down there!
Why, it's an Ethan Hunt down there. There's just no way to overstate how beautiful the scenery is and how intense this chopper chase is and how ridiculous it is that Tom Cruise is flying a helicopter through snowy mountains and it's just another day on the job. And it was all just so that we could see Ethan in the chopper as it flew around, so that you don't ever have to extend your suspension of disbelief. As much as I love Benji, Lane beating him like a 4-year-old is pretty on the money realism-wise. Ilsa breaks her damsel in distress chair by pure force of will and spine. It's actually fun to have the most skilled fighter in the room be female. Ethan just cannot escape crashing helicopters. Finally, the classic Ilsa Black Widow move. Waiting all movie. Everything in this movie is a freaking dire choice. Imagine your plan being, okay, I'll just unbuckle and then grab his legs on the way by. So that's why he can't Superman anymore. Mustache was worth it. One of my biggest fears from the trailer was that I thought this scene was Cavill v. Cruise, and I felt a little insulted. Cavill is just too big, and this is Hunt, not Reacher. So when we got to this fight, where both men are basically on death's door, I was pleased to see Walker throw Hunt around like a ragdoll a little. Size does matter sometimes, but you can use momentum to combat size. One more Ethan Hunt plus danger plus suspended precariously from rope equals win. Which is fine, it makes up for the not quite as good high-speed moving vehicle scene. Really, this entire finale makes up for anything that might be lacking. Oh, that's brutal. Ethan pretty much always gets one, alright, make this guy pay moment. By the way, it's totally missable, but if you're into effects that are probably totally unnecessary, scrub through this and the scene where Decoy Lark got shot frame by frame. Yep, mission not accomplished yet, so it's time for a little free soloing. Ooh, tricky, tricky. Nuclear blast or nuclear ball of gas 93 million miles away. And it's so similar to the effects used for the nuke blast in his dream.
See you later, Doc.
I also enjoyed that Ricky Plastic Bag in the Wind Fits is not a moron. One last fun fact, this flash to white is actually the camera running out of film that they tied into the fuse spark. Genius. At some point, I'm not sure when, maybe right after Mission Impossible 2, these movies became the What Will Tommy Boy Do Next show. But the easiest examples of how they took it to a new level in this one are the two huge scenes from the trailers, one with its own featurette that were cut from the final film. They had so much Tom putting his life at risk for our entertainment that they had to cut some of it out because there just wasn't enough time. I feel like that sort of proves that he's not just some showboat adrenaline junkie. He's way more interested in making sure scenes serve the story rather than his ego. I have a lot of respect for him because of that. And he has a lot of respect for Christopher McQuarrie. And honestly, I have to give Tom Cruise even more credit because he brought McQuarrie back when new directors every sequel was like one of his rules for making them. And now he's doing at least 2 more. So that's Tom recognizing talent for what it is. And McQuarrie's writing style works so well in the Mission Impossible universe. The Chekhov's gun switch is a perfect example. He's not the first to do it, but you can see his directorial influence in so many little details throughout the movie. Like this little smile from Lane as if he knows he's in Hunt's head after the dream. Or his insane level of attention when it comes to blocking the bathroom fight and setting up the geography and not resorting to shaky cam. Or just the way he almost comically leaned into Ethan and his team's mythos in this one.
We're gonna have to go it alone. I won't let anything happen. I'm not gonna let that happen. I'll make it work. I'm working on it.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
We're working on it.
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
You gotta have faith, you know?
Hope is not a strategy.
The one versus many question is at the core of this film. Walker and Hunt are diametrically opposed on the issue.
If you'd made the hard choice in Berlin,
You're why we don't have a living witness who can identify John Mark.
Consciously and subconsciously. It's to the point that when you stop to think about what Walker was actually doing, he clearly believes that many lives are worth sacrificing to save millions. He was killing syndicate/apostle goons, men working towards the same goals as him, all to work his way up in and prove his loyalty to the CIA. Ethan is so much his antithesis that he even saves Walker in the Halo jump. Yeah, sure, he didn't know. Listen, Ethan always knows, man. But even Walker's death wasn't going to happen on Ethan's watch. Throughout the movie, their different ideologies are tested. You could argue that Ethan's devotion to his rule makes him weak, but I'd argue that the only thing keeping him going at the end is the people he's trying to protect. I mean, the standard trolley problem has more ambiguity in it than Mission Impossible movies, but I think we all get the point.
no hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
And Henry Cavill plays off and against Cruise like few have been able to before. The entire cast is amazing though. Simon and Ving offering a lot of comedy, and Rebecca Ferguson sometimes seems like she's in a much more serious movie, in a good way. This one is less lighthearted than past Mission Impossibles anyway, but she has this stoicism that makes you sympathize and be terrified at the same time. I know I harped on the score quite a bit in this one, but goodness did Lorne Balfe take it to the next level. Rogue Nation still probably has the hardest hitting Mission Impossible theme, but Balfe wove it into so much of his original score to the point that he was stuck in 5/4 time for most of the score. It constantly brings you back almost nostalgically while at the same time reminding you that we're moving forward. The villains get that Hans Zimmer octave drop wah that makes your chest rattle every time you hear it. One thing I learned through making this is that so many shots, especially running shots, were after he broke his ankle. I've broken bones, torn cartilage. Fun story, once I had a jersey barrier placed on my foot. Point is, there's healed, and then there's 2 years later and it still hurts to walk. 14 years later with no problems, but I think 5 years to 100% no pain would be a fair assessment. Tom was back sprinting a few months later and actually doing physical therapy all the time in between. That's devotion to your craft. I know I'm gushing about Tom Cruise again. Okay, but here's a reason to love him. He refers to Edge of Tomorrow by its novel and manga title, All You Need Is Kill. That sparked joy for me, what can I say? I'll keep you, Tom Cruise. I'd say The Last Samurai is where I started to realize how amazing he was, but he just rarely misses. Running the gamut from Magnolia to Collateral, Rock of Ages to Top Gun, Jerry Maguire to Minority Report. And if you love Minority Report like I do, you probably know it's based on Philip K. Dick's short story of the same name. So I was super excited when I found out that today's sponsor, CuriosityStream, had a film all about his life and work. I'm a huge Philip K. Dick fan. He's probably written some things you didn't even know your favorite movies were based on. And if you don't know, CuriosityStream is a subscription streaming service now with over 2,400 documentaries and non-fiction titles from some of the best filmmakers, including originals you can't get anywhere else. You can get unlimited access for $2.99 a month, but if you wonder as people sign up with the link on screen and use promo code CinemaWins, you get the first 30 days free. You can watch on pretty much any device or platform you own. So check it out. It really helps support the channel, especially when my fair use videos are getting claimed for copyright. Actually, you know what? This movie, or this series, is where the 2018 63 video copyright claim bonanza started. It started with Rogue Nation. Well, take that, Paramount. CuriosityStream's got my back now. That's not how any of this works. Okay, bye, thanks. Sign up for CuriosityStream, you'll love it, I promise.
Still, I have held my hope in my hand. Some people's only hope, not if you give them hope. L means hope.
What's the S stand for?
it's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Hope is not a strategy.